whenever you started talking and naming all these high street companies, and part of my brain just went, is this where all the money's going?
Oh, well, yes.
But because I'm trying to work out what the methods of like valueless financial extraction have been going on in the United Kingdom. Because again, there's loads of people talk about what happens in America and how the money gets like shoveled out the back door, basically. And very few people talk about where all the money is going in the United Kingdom, because it's 40, 50 years of feeling like we have less and less value for the pound. And obviously inflation has something to do with that, but the advertised inflation rates are not the actual, I would say, value of the decrease of the value of the pound accurately. And I've been trying to work out where's all the money gone and that, like, where the rent seeking has happened and where the extraction from our system, where it's going. My other theory that I'm currently working on, which is probably not very accurate, is we're just slowly losing all our money in fees to Visa and MasterCard.
Well, that's not a bad shot. I've worked in the paid tick industry for a long time, and scheme fees. I mean, the again, I don't want to get too geeky, but the 4-party payment system on a card payment is utterly daft and well up for revision and refinement.
Why is it daft? Get geeky is fine. People like that.
Okay. So when you tap your card on a point of sale, you've effectively got the point of sale. You've got yourself. You've got the point of sale. You've got the scheme rules which communicate between your card issuer and your bank. And you have the point of sale, you have a merchant acquirer, you have the scheme rules, and you have your card issuer. And what happens when you tap your point of sale is you have a series of very rapid messages. So for me, the point of sale would immediately communicate with my card issuer over, let's say, the Visa rails, saying Freddie wants to spend £1.50 or probably £3.50 on a coffee now, isn't it? With inflation, is he good for it? And then the card issuer, then communicates with my bank, saying, has he got that in his account? And then that message flips back saying, yeah, he's good for that. And then the message comes back to the point of sale, and then the transaction is able to complete in real time. But settlement of that transaction doesn't take place until much later. And that is settlement between the my bank, let's say Barclays, and the bank of the point of sale owner. And that often doesn't take place for 2 to 3 days, which is why chargebacks are very often a problem. Anyway, so it's a system of very old messages. It works pretty well, actually, considering how old it is. But there are now alternatives that do exist that perhaps function in a more efficient way with fewer rent seekers on the way. Because remember, each of those people are charging a fee for the privilege. Yeah. And that fee is often picked up not by me buying the coffee, although it'll be reflected in the coffee price, but it's picked up on the day by the merchant. So the merchants have to pay a lot of money in order to have access to this messaging system.
Yeah. Yeah. I think people would be stunned at how much people pay of their the money they think is going to the shop. What percentage is quite often like 2-3%.
Yeah. One of the reasons that you don't see as many Amex point of sale acceptance in the UK is because Amex have very high, very high scheme fees.
Yeah. Although that is changing because their credit cards has become very popular amongst people.
Yes.
For the Avios points and for other things they offer in the cashback and the offer. So I know quite a lot of people who have the Amex cards, and that always felt to me like something that only rich people have. But then I think everyone started realizing that there was quite a lot of benefits, and then they put on like a, poor people tier.
Oh, how kind of them.
Yeah. So it's, you don't have to pay for the Amex card, but yeah, you get some of the benefits and stuff. So there's better ways to do it. And I assume what you're going to tell me is one of those might potentially be, crypto and digital payments.
Potentially, although I think it's important to be very precise about what we mean there. Actually, perhaps if we're moving on to, and my specialism is obviously sort of Bitcoin, the Bitcoin payment network.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's basically what I'm getting at.
Oh, it's useful, I think, that we started talking about the Bank of England, because the central banks are one of their functions, and another function that the Bank of England arguably does well, is as a settlement or a clearinghouse, effectively, between other banks. So many commercial banks will have accounts with the Bank of England, and they will tend to batch payments. And in the same way as we mentioned just there with the 4-party payment system, those will be settled T+1, T+3 sometimes, sometimes end of day. And that means that all of the transactions that are being made between Monzo customers and Barclays customers will be netted off against each other at the end of the day, so that all of those are, the money's effectively where it should be. And people often talk about Bitcoin as a form of digital cash, which it has the potential to be. But another criticism of it is that it has very slow settlement speeds. One of the interesting things to think about is that Bitcoin is more akin to a central bank than it is to a fast payment system. Bitcoin's final settlement does take about 10 minutes. So if you wanted to buy coffee and wait for 10 minutes for final settlement to take place, that is roughly what you'd be looking to do. However, in much the same way as commercial banks and Visa and MasterCard, the schemes, payment schemes have been built on top of a central bank settlement network, there are other faster and arguably nimbler payment stacks that are being built and have been built on top of Bitcoin. How geeky am I allowed to get? So one of the most interesting ones is called the Lightning Network, and the way that functions is, so we've mentioned the sort of the 10-minute settlement time. A Lightning Network, a channel, is like a bar tab. So let's say if you're running a bar and I'm a customer, and I'll come down and let's say I open a tab I'll put down £100, and then during the course of the evening I can spend as much of that £100 as I like, as quickly as I like, and then at the end of the evening when I close the tab, we settle up, and I've got £8.75 left of that £100, and then we close, and we walk away with whatever we're left of out of the £100. The Lightning Network functions a broadly similar way. So you open a channel, and then while that channel is open, it's possible to make lightning fast, thus the name, almost free payments between us. And the genius thing about the Lightning Network is that it's not just a single payment channel, but each payment channel can connect with others, and so it exponentially becomes very, very wide. Very recently, I did an experiment with a friend in Zambia where we sent £10 to Lusaka and back to England in real time for 0 fees. It was pretty extraordinary. Wow. And incapable of being replicated by the modern banking system. In fact, if you use Western Union, I think they take about 30% of it in fees. So, which is a big problem. And I think one of the things that certainly we in the privileged, well-developed West don't appreciate is that a lot of countries are reliant on remittances and cross-border payments, and a technology which can enable almost free, instantaneous transfers of value cross-border is extremely valuable and is very, very ripe for exploitation.
Yeah. Do you think there's ever a time where the UK government may consider that a potential base layer payment system, or do you think they would feel that they have to control it themselves?
I spent a lot of time trying to persuade the British government of the merits of at least looking at the technology in a dispassionate way. I don't have very high hopes of them doing so. The interesting thing, though, is that businesses are already beginning to adopt this type of payment network independently of government and irrespective of what government is doing. So one thing that's, for example, Tooting, not far from where we are at the moment, there's a small circular economy getting going there of different businesses which are accepting Bitcoin, and they are seeing, well, two things really: an increased velocity of money, and secondly, they're becoming a bit of a destination for people who want to spend Bitcoin. So most economists will agree that higher velocity of money is good in an economy. That means more people spending money is better for people selling goods, and then it means that the merchants who are receiving their money are able to invest and to grow their businesses. And that seems to be happening in Tooting, and we do have various new businesses springing up in the UK exploiting exactly this. One nice example is called Musket. So they offer a unified point of sale terminal where you can pay with Bitcoin, you can pay with your Visa card, you can pay with Amex, you can pay with MasterCard. All you do is the customers, you select what you'd like to pay with, and then you tap and pay, and away you go. You can pay via QR code. You as the merchant don't even necessarily need to know how your goods are being sold. And you can have that converted immediately into fiat currency if you want, or you can keep it in Bitcoin if you so choose. A lot of it's about freedom of choice. But again, crucially for you as a merchant, you won't then be paying your scheme fees if you went solely Bitcoin, and then you're not exposed to things like chargeback risk either.
Good news, everyone. My book about GameStop, The Craziest Story Ever Told, is now finished. Well, almost. Still waiting for the final draft. So, in the meantime, I think you should look at pre-ordering it or any one of the multiple fantastic, beautiful t-shirts that I have designed in order to sell with the book. Thank you, everyone, for your patience over the last few years while I have been finishing it very slowly. And I am really, really excited for people to read it. Link is in the description below. Enjoy the podcast.